Hi, it's Jane, and on Healthier You today, we are going to talk about healthy eating as you age and something that they tell you to know your food groups. Um, I I have told you that I'm focused quite a few topics that are geared for seniors. However, there are a lot of these that are good for anyone, regardless of what age group you are. Um, so The difference may be in the calorie intake that you have, and maybe some of the diseases or things that you're fighting with, like high blood pressure. Those would be some of the main differences. Although I do know there are people who, even in their high school years, deal with high blood pressure, and they can live a long life if they take care of themselves by eating properly. So, let's get into the medical disclaimer first. Always check with your physician before starting any exercise or dietary program. Information here is my personal research into different health topics and is not to be considered medical advice. All right, healthy eating as you age, knowing your food groups. Making smart food choices is an important part of healthy aging. Understanding the different food groups, how much of each should make up your diet, can help you from healthy eating, especially if you follow this over time. This is where, if you are younger than a senior, it's still good advice for you. So there are some and this comes from National Institute of Health. There are a lot of things that tell you what the main food groups are and other important nutrients that are recommended for adults, older adults, and there are some dietary guidelines for Americans that our NIH has put out there. If you do a search for it, you'll find them. They also provide suggestions to help how to fit occasional treats into your healthy eating pattern. So yeah, you can have that cheesecake every once in a while. I choose to have the stuff when we have our senior meals because you know the the younger kids that are providing these meals for us often will bring cheesecake, cookies, and different things like that. But being able to know when to have them helps out quite a bit. It's important to get the recommended amount of each food group without going over your daily recommended calories. And that may be something you need to talk with the nutritionist, dietitian, or your family doctor with. If you have diabetes, maybe you want to discuss that with your diabetes educator. They do have a nutritionist that is available normally with any place that has diabetes educators. However, you may find it a hard time to get into them because with the advancement, so many people taking Ozempic, Monjaro, some of these, what they're calling the weight loss shot, meds and things, they have to have a appointment with the nutritionist to talk with first before they can start them on those medications, which is fine, but it means the nutritionist is not available for those people who have actual different needs than just needing it to get past the insurance company. It is important to remember that the amount you should eat to maintain your weight depends on your age, sex, and your level of physical activity. Daily intake amounts listed are in terms of cups or ounces may not actually translate to cups or ounces in food that you're eating. This is because some foods are denser than others. Some may have more air and contain more water. For example, in the vegetable food group, 1 cup of raw spinach and half a cup of cooked spinach both count as 1 cup equivalent because they have the same nutritional value. So when you see these in food guides, that is what you need to keep in mind, what you're seeing, okay? So your main food groups are going to be vegetables. Vegetables come in a wide variety of flavors, colors, and textures. They contain vitamins and minerals, carbohydrates, which for some of us is evil, and are an important source of fiber. The vegetable food group includes dark green vegetables, red and orange vegetables, starchy vegetables, and legumes, which are peas and beans. Dark green vegetables include broccoli, collard greens, spinach, kale. Red-orange vegetables may include acorn squash, carrots, pumpkin, tomato, and sweet potato. Starchy vegetables include corn, green peas, and white potatoes. Other vegetables may include eggplant, beets, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, celery, artichokes, green beans, and onions. Legumes include black beans, garbanzo beans, chickpeas, kidney beans, soybeans, and tofu. Legumes can also be found in this group and counted in the protein foods group. Half a cup equivalent of vegetables equals a serving. And here are some of those equalities that we're talking about with the differences. For 1 cup uncooked spinach, 6 baby carrots, half a cup cooked kidney beans, half a cup broccoli florets, 1/2 large 3-inch diameter to 4-inch approximately red pepper, half a cup cooked green beans. Fiber is a type of carbohydrate that your body cannot digest. It is found in many foods that come from plants, including vegetables, beans, and peas. Eating fiber-rich vegetables can help prevent stomach or intestinal problems and can help lower your cholesterol. Fruits, one of my favorite. Fruits bring color, flavor, and important nutrients to your diet. There are so many choices, boy aren't they. Citrus fruits like oranges and grapefruits, different kinds of berries, fruits grown on trees like apricots, cherries, peaches, mangoes, others like figs, grapes, and pineapples. According to the dietary guidelines, older Americans generally do not eat enough fruit. Adding more fruit to your diet can have significant benefits for overall health. Fruits like vegetables contain carbohydrates and can provide extra fiber that helps keep your digestive system moving. In other words, it helps you poop. For even more fiber, eat fruits with the skin on. Just make sure you wash all fruits thoroughly before eating. Although 100% fruit juice also counts toward this category, at least half of the fruit you eat should be whole fruits. When purchasing frozen, canned, or dried fruit, choose options that are lowest in added sugars. Half a cup equivalent of certain fruits are 1 small piece of fruit such as a 2-inch peach or large plum, 1/4 cup dried fruit, 1/8 of a medium cantaloupe, 1/2 cup orange juice, 1/2 medium grapefruit, half a cup grapes. Now think about that. Half a cup of grapes is not a lot of grapes. And they have a lot more that you can find. They tell you, if you ever wonder how many fruits and vegetables should you eat at a meal, half your plate should be fruits and vegetables, or vegetables and fruit, with fruit being the lesser of the two. Grains, any food made from wheat, rice, rye, oats, cornmeal, barley, or other cereal. Grain is a grain product. These include bread and pasta, breakfast cereal, grits, tortillas, and even popcorn. Yes, popcorn. Grains, along with fruits, vegetables, and dairy, contain carbohydrates, the body's main source of energy. So read your food labels to find the grain choices that are low in saturated fat and added sugar. But especially be wary of options labeled low fat, which can be high in added sugar. At least half of the grain food you eat should be whole grains. Whole grains provide iron and many B vitamins, and they have fiber too. Examples of whole grains include whole wheat, whole oats, whole bulgur, known as cracked wheat, and whole cornmeal. Some grain products are refined, which gives them a finer texture and a longer shelf life, but removes fiber and nutrients. Most refined grains are enriched, which means some nutrients are added back in after processing. These are some of the refined grain products you'll see: white flour, degermed cornmeal, white bread, and white rice. A 1 ounce equivalent of grain is equal to 1 slice of bread, 1 small, like 2.5-inch muffin, 1 cup breakfast cereal, flakes, rounds, or puffed, half a cup cooked cereal, rice or pasta, 3 cups popcorn, 1 small 6-inch corn or flour tortilla. Now, one of the things with popcorn is you have to be careful of many of the additives that they add into those popcorn, like picking those boxes off where it's got the mini thing. You have to look at what it has in it. Many times it has a lot of added things to it. One of the things that I like to do is I take brown paper bags and I'll put in 1/4 of a cup of popcorn, unpopped, in that, fold over the edge, and sometimes I add the spices before, sometimes I do it after, but I'll let that pop. Generally takes somewhere between 1 minute to 1.5 minutes to fill that bag, and that's plenty for me. There's no added fat. You don't need anything else in it to cook it in the microwave. And then from there you could add ranch seasoning, chili powder, all kinds of things to it, plain salt and pepper. I had a girlfriend when I was growing up. She added salt and pepper to popcorn, and it was amazing how good it was. We would have just plain popcorn. So consider that for a treat and a way to get in some grains. Of course, if you're looking at carbohydrates, you've got to be careful. All that nonsense. Sometimes I think we make it too difficult. Protein foods are often called the body's building blocks. They are used to build and repair tissues and also help your body fight infection. Your body uses extra protein for energy. Older adults should try to eat a variety of nutrient-dense proteins. Choose lean, low-fat meats and poultry. Keep in mind that you can also get protein from seafood, eggs, beans, nuts, seeds, and soy products. Protein from plant sources tends to be lower saturated fat, contains no cholesterol, and provides fiber and other health-promoting nutrients. Plant sources of protein, such as nuts and seeds, have different nutritional value than plant-based meat alternatives, which can be heavily processed and high in sodium. So if you're looking at tofu products that are assimilating meat, you need to look at those things. Are they highly processed? And what is their sodium content? The dietary guidelines that are recommended, they recommend you eat 8 to 10 ounces per week of a variety of seafood, not only for the protein, but also because it has omega-3 fatty acids, such as EPA and DHA, which are good for your heart. Seafoods are higher in EPH and DHA. Some of those are salmon, anchovies, and trout. These seed foods are also lower in mercury, which can be harmful than other types of food. See, they're getting us coming and going. A 1 ounce equivalent equals half an ounce nuts, which is 12 almonds, 24 pistachios, or 7 walnut halves. 1 tablespoon peanut butter. 1 tablespoon peanut butter. And not the dried peanut butter, regular peanut butter. Half a cup split pea, lentil, or other bean soup. 1/4 of a cup tofu. 1 egg. 2 tablespoons hummus. Now, when it comes to certain vegetables that you can count as protein foods, these are some things you might want to use if you regularly eat meat, poultry, and fish. Count them as proteins if you are a vegetarian or vegan, or if you seldom eat meat, poultry, and fish. And those are things like the beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, black beans, those kind of things. Dairy. Dairy helps us older people maintain strong bones, provides several vital nutrients, including calcium, potassium, and vitamin D. For your heart health, pick those that are low-fat or fat-free choices in the dairy group. Although I would say fat-free cheese is extremely disappointing and depressing. Maybe just go with lower fat. These give you important vitamins and minerals with less fat. Certain fortified dairy alternatives can provide similar nutritional content to the dairy. 1 cup equivalent of dairy equals 1 cup of yogurt. Measure these out, folks, if you don't know what 1 cup looks like. And then from there, if you put it into a bowl or ramekin, you could use that all the time for it. 1½ ounces hard cheese, such as cheddar, mozzarella, Swiss, or Parmesan. 1/3 cup shredded cheese. You'd be surprised how much cheese that is. 1 cup milk or calcium fortified soy beverage. 2 cups of cottage cheese. 1 cup pudding made with milk. Now, I will say when I do make pudding, because I'm diabetic, I do use the sugar-free. And don't tell me about the chemicals. You choose your battle, folks. Choose your battle. But when I make my pudding, I actually put it in a bowl and I whip it with the milk. Doesn't matter whether it's 2%, 1%, whatever milk. Whip it. It makes like a mousse-like texture regardless of the milk. I haven't tried it with soy or oat milk. Maybe I should try it with that. I don't particularly like soy milk. I don't particularly like almond milk, but I'm sure you could do it with all of those. That's probably what's listed next as a dairy alternative. And but it just makes that pudding feel a little bit richer. And I do have 1 cup containers that I put it in. So that's helpful for portion control. For an individual who uses dairy alternatives, such as fortified soy milk and yogurt, which have calcium, vitamin A, and D added, some of the other things might be almond, rice, coconut, oat, and hemp milks. Never thought about hemp milks. And they're not always fortified with those vitamins and minerals. So you might want to check that out. See if you need to add those into your diet elsewhere. You also need to look out for added sugars and dairy alternatives. This is where reading the label helps, and also choosing unsweetened or low sugar options. There are a lot of other foods that can be placed into our food, but they're not in any one food group. Those are things like oils, which can be eaten regularly, as well as unhealthy fats, sugars, and calories from drinks, which should be consumed only occasionally. There's no recommended daily intake in cups or ounces for these products, but limit the calories you consume from this category, which can help keep your healthy habits on track. Oils and solid foods, solid fats, those are some things to keep in check. They are also an important source of nutrients like vitamin E. For older adults, the daily allowance of oils ranges from 5 to 8 tablespoons, not tablespoons, teaspoons. Teaspoons, not tablespoons, depending on your activity level. Oils include monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats, which are healthy fats that give you energy, help the body absorb certain vitamins. Measuring your daily oils can be tricky. Knowing what you add while cooking or baking is one thing, but oil is naturally part of some foods, such as half a medium avocado has 3 teaspoons of oil. 4 large ripe olives have half a teaspoon of oil. 1 tablespoon of peanut butter has 2 teaspoons of oil. I don't know about you, but if I'm having a sandwich, let me tell you, half an avocado on that sandwich with the tomato, the lettuce, whatever else I got on there, I'm going for it. That's all that I'm going to say on that. In general, try to use oils instead of solid fats, such as butter or lard. I tend to use butter in my cooking and use it sparingly, so you do you, I'll do me. Saturated fats occur naturally in some foods, but they're also added to a lot of foods such as baked goods and potato chips. So to lower the saturated fat in your diet, eat low-fat, fat-free dairy products, choose leaner cuts of meat, remove the skin from your chicken, all kinds of things. Also, make sure that you're not having a lot of foods that have a lot of added sugar. And some of those things for you to look for when you're reading the label will be brown sugar, corn sweetener, corn syrup, dextrose, fructose, and high fructose corn syrup. Now, there's another thing when it comes to beverages. Let me get a drink of mine. And I gotta pause you for a minute because I'm about to run out of battery. Beverages. You know, when you go for a coffee, if you go to a coffee shop and you add this and that and all kinds of things, you know, if you're getting the grande or venti, whatever they are, double shot, this syrup, shot of this syrup, change it to a latte and all this other stuff, you're adding a ton of stuff that's calorie laden. So be careful. It can add calories, such as coffee. You know what I drink. I generally drink 2 of those cups there, and that is approximately probably 32 ounces, equivalent of 4 cups of coffee. And I do add my homemade creamer that I make, and when I make that, I use a lower calorie because I will use the Splenda brown sugar, which is half sugar and half Splenda. So I know it also has sugar content in it. But I've also done a thing where I have made my own brown sugar using sugar-free alternatives such as erythritol, the stevia sugar blend, which it is totally sugar-free, the way that they do that with the erythritol and the stevia. And I will use those many times with molasses. Now, molasses does have some sugar content in it. However, the amount that you're putting in to make that brown sugar that you're going to use is probably a lot less than what you would think it is. So that is something you need to think about when you are making your coffee and tea, as well as creamers that you're adding. If you're using the Carnation Instant, Carnation little packets, or half and half little cups, you're adding calories, so just be careful of that. And of course, your sweetened beverages like sodas and sports drinks, energy drinks, and some of your sweetened waters, you need to be careful with those. And alcohol is a biggie. Alcohol has a ton of calories. Not only that, but if you're diabetic, it's going to shoot your blood sugar sky high. And then a couple of hours later, your blood sugars will drop down way low. So be careful with alcohol. And that is it for today's video on Healthier You. Hope you have a great week. I'll see you again next week. Next week, we're talking about food planning, healthy planning for your food, meals, those kind of things. So I'll see you again then. Everybody have a great week. Bye.